Hey man, let's cut right to the truth. If you ever find yourself trying to explain your worth, your actions, or your intentions to a woman over and over again, you've already lost frame. You've already told her, without saying it directly, I need you to see me a certain way, or I don't feel secure. And trust me, brother, no woman wants to be your judge, your savior, or your therapist. She wants to feel your strength. She wants to sense your direction. She wants to experience your presence without needing to dig for your reasoning. Because once she has to ask for your justification, you've shifted the power to her, and that changes everything. You see, high-value men don't explain, they express. There's a difference. Explaining comes from fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being judged, fear of losing her approval. But expression comes from power. A man who expresses himself is saying, this is who I am. You're welcome to witness it, but I don't need you to get it. That subtle difference creates magnetism. It's what separates the forgettable men from the unforgettable ones. And when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop needing her to understand you, you unlock a part of her brain that's wired for obsession. Why? Because mystery is more powerful than explanation. Always has been, always will be. The moment she can predict everything about you, your reactions, your motives, your next move, she files you away. She knows you now. You're categorized, labeled, safe, and safety kills desire. But the man who says less, reveals less, and lets his actions do the talking, that man lives rent-free in her mind. Now don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you should be cold or disrespectful or emotionally distant. I'm saying you should lead. Leading means you choose your words carefully. You stand by your decisions. You don't ask for permission. You don't beg for forgiveness. You say what needs to be said, and you let silence carry the weight of what doesn't. That silence, it's deafening, and women feel it deeply. It keeps them curious. It keeps them questioning. It keeps them chasing, because when you stop explaining, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable men are the most attractive force in a woman's emotional world. You become the story she can't quite figure out, the puzzle she wants to solve, but never fully does. That's the sweet spot. That's the edge. That's where real attraction lives. So the next time you feel that urge to explain yourself, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this for clarity or for approval? If it's for clarity, make it short and clear. But if it's for approval, drop it. Walk away. Let her sit with the unknown. Because sometimes your silence says what your explanation never could. I don't need to be understood to be respected, and that, my brother, is the most powerful statement you can ever make. You need to understand this. Women are not logical creatures when it comes to attraction. They are emotional interpreters. That means when you start explaining yourself, you're speaking a language she doesn't respond to. You're offering logic when she wants to feel something. When you say, I didn't mean it like that, or here's what I was trying to do, or I hope you understand, you think you're clarifying. But to her, you're just weakening the energy. You're watering down the mystery. You're inviting her to analyze you. And the more she analyzes you, the less she feels you. Here's the truth. Women don't fall in love with a man they fully understand. They fall for the ones they feel but can't quite figure out. The ones who move with certainty, who make a choice and never look back. And when those choices come without long justifications, they trigger a deep, primal intrigue. Think about it this way. Imagine you're watching a movie, and the main character is always explaining his actions, constantly narrating his intentions, over-apologizing and over-justifying. Boring, right? Now compare that to the silent, stoic lead, the one whose past you don't fully know, whose next move you can't predict, who says very little, but when he does, every word has gravity. That's the man she dreams about. That's the man she remembers. So when you pull back from explaining, you're not just protecting your frame, you're actually feeding attraction. You're allowing her to create her own emotional narrative about who you are. That's a powerful psychological move, because we are far more emotionally attached to the stories we create than the facts we're told. Let her fill in the blanks. Let her wonder why you walked away. Let her think about what you meant when you gave that short, calm answer. That uncertainty, it keeps you on her mind. Now don't confuse this with being emotionally unavailable. This is about composure, emotional maturity. A grounded man knows what he's doing. He doesn't explain every move, not because he's playing games, but because he doesn't need validation. He doesn't fear misunderstanding. He knows that the right woman will feel the truth behind the silence. But here's the thing, most men can't handle that silence. They break. They send the follow-up text. They offer the long message. They beg to be seen as good. And every time you do that, you chip away at your mystery. You move from being a man to being a boy seeking approval. And women don't crave boys. They crave the man who walks away calmly, even when it hurts. The man who doesn't explain because he knows who he is. That confidence, that restraint, that quiet strength, it drives her wild inside. It taps into her imagination. And once you're in her imagination, you've already won. So here's your mission, man. The next time you feel that itch to explain, don't. Instead, observe. Feel that discomfort. Sit in it. And let your actions speak for you. Be the storm that doesn't need to shout. Be the flame that doesn't beg to be seen. Be the presence that leaves her wondering, what's he thinking? Because that space, that unspoken power, is where true attraction grows. You are not a man who needs to be explained. You are a man who is felt. You've now got the mindset. You understand that explaining yourself weakens your frame. But let's bring it down to real-life interactions, because theory is useless if you don't apply it. So picture this. She texts you something passive-aggressive. Maybe she says, "I guess you're too busy to care now." The old version of you? You'd rush in, typing out a paragraph about how you've just been stressed, how it's not her fault, how you still care, how you hope she understands. But the new you, the grounded you read it, you take a breath, and you don't react. Maybe you don't even respond for hours. When you do, it's short, calm, and unbothered. Was handling something important. Hope you're good. No fluff, no apology, no performance. That response holds power. It tells her you are a man whose time and mind are valuable, that you don't live under emotional manipulation, that you're not in the business of earning her comfort at the expense of your dignity. And that contrast, that stillness in the middle of her emotional storm, it hits her hard, because every other man would fold. Now let's say she confronts you in person. She asks, "Why didn't you call me back last night?" Your response isn't a nervous explanation. It's not about proving anything. It's a calm truth. "I needed some time to myself." And then silence. You let that breathe. The more you give minimal but honest responses, the more she feels something she can't explain. It's not what you say, it's the energy behind it. You don't justify because your actions are clean. You don't explain because your presence says more. You don't feel the silence because you're not afraid of losing her over honesty. That kind of energy builds respect, and attraction without respect, it's nothing. A woman may flirt with a weak man, she may even hook up with a man who seeks validation, but she will never stay emotionally invested in someone she doesn't respect. And the fastest way to lose her respect is to act like a boy, seeking reassurance, bending to her moods, and explaining yourself like your words are audition tapes. She wants a man who moves with intention, one who never needs to prove his goodness because it's already in his energy. But let me make something clear. This doesn't mean you never communicate. This doesn't mean you ghost, play games, or become cold. This is about the quality of your communication. You don't overexpress. You don't explain your way into her comfort zone. You communicate through grounded action, consistent presence, and selective words. That creates tension, and healthy tension is the fuel of emotional attraction. She can't pin you down. She doesn't know what every look means. She can't label you easily, and that mystery, it keeps her invested, because when a woman can predict you fully, she stops chasing. But when she's still figuring you out, not because you're hiding, but because you're composed, her imagination does all the chasing. And that's the beauty of it. You don't have to convince her you're a high-value man. You just have to be one, and let your silence remind her of it. So walk like your time is expensive, speak like your words carry weight, and live like her validation is a bonus, not a requirement. If this hit home for you, subscribe for more content that doesn't sugarcoat the truth. Until next time, stay sharp, stay grounded, stay dangerous.